So you need to get to these higher levels of knowledge. It's great. It makes you a really good EMT, but here's the problem. It requires work. This is not a passive thing. This is something that makes you really engage your brain. And I don't know that a lot of people have ever really engaged their brain the way that we want you to. What you're actually going to be doing is creating new pathways in your brain. You're going to take and make connections between things you've seen and things you've heard before, and you're going to link it with the new information that you're learning. Unfortunately, I can't do this for you. Your friends, your family, they can't do it for you either. And there's no way that you can cheat your way through this. This is something that you have to do for you. Now, studying with your peers, that's helpful for this, because they may have already formed a pathway that you haven't formed in your brain, and they can help relate that information to you. But this takes work, hard work, lots of dedicated focus. All right, so how do you do this? Well, there is a document here in D2L. It's called Study Better in 7 Days. It's kind of long. It's not hard to read, though, but read it. Just read it. And I want you to practice with it. There's a bunch of techniques, things that you can do to make learning in this manner a little bit easier. I want you to try out one or several of the techniques, and I want you to memorize the following steps to scene surveys. You'll see how this fits into the big picture later, but I want you to come in with this memorized by next class. It's only 6 things. I think you can do it. Body substance isolation, scene safety, number of patients, mechanism of injury or nature of illness. You can, of course, abbreviate this MOI or NOI as long as you know what this means. Then you want to ask, do I need additional resources? And I want to consider something called spinal motion restriction, or SMR. So memorize this list. There will be a quiz in class. I'm going to ask you guys kind of randomly throughout class to tell me these things. And then what I'm going to want to know is which of the techniques from this document, this Study Better in 7 Days, did you use? Here, I'll go back. Now stop, pause the presentation, write this down. I know you have paper and pen out because I already asked you to get that out. So write it down. Okay, now I'll move on. So now what? Okay, so you've got it memorized, but how does this fit into the big picture? You know, I made you memorize these 6 silly things. Well, this is a great question. And this is actually a question that you should be asking yourself with absolutely everything that you read or do in this class. When we do a skill, how does this fit into the big picture? And when I say big picture, what I really mean is how does this fit in with me being an EMT and doing the job of an EMT? How is this going to help me save someone's life? I expect to hear that more than once in class. How is this going to help me save someone's life? But realistically, you need to be able to answer this question with everything we do. So how do I pass this class? Well, plan to spend at least 15 hours per week outside of class and clinicals just studying. Manage your time. This is not easy. Now here's something else that I want you to bring in. And I think it's on the assignments page, but I need you to make a schedule for yourself for the next 2 weeks. Make yourself a 2-week schedule, and I need you to fit in at least 15 hours of study time. If you have a job, you need to list your work hours. If you have a commute, make sure to include your commuting time to work or to class. I need you to figure out when you're going to spend time with your family or your friends. And I need to figure out what it is you're going to have to sacrifice about life. Maybe it's your favorite TV show. Maybe it's spending hours on Facebook or whatever it is that you do. There's going to be something you have to sacrifice to suddenly fit in 15 hours a week to study. The next step is you need to make your study time worth it. It's easy to sit and flip through pages of your book and then maybe take a break and go get a drink, and then you're hungry so you go get a snack, and suddenly an hour's passed and you haven't really learned anything. You need to make your study time worth it, and don't delude yourself into thinking that it won't be hard work, because good studying is hard work. The more good studying that you get in, the faster you're going to learn this stuff. So when you focus and when you spend your time doing good, hard studying, you're going to be better at this whole learning thing and being an EMT. The next thing is I want you to be an active learner. So this means when we're in class, put your phone away. Don't bother looking at the clock. Take your watch off if you have to. And just try and figure out how what we're talking about fits in with the big picture. Ask questions. Ask lots of questions. Actively listen and figure out how what it is that I'm saying fits with what you already know. And then think of something else that you may need to learn to understand it better. Don't hesitate to ask questions. And like I've mentioned before, develop a big picture of how all the parts fit together to make you an EMT.